Hi, everybody. Angel here, and I hope you're doing great. And today I am super excited to speak with Mitali, and we will get started very soon. And we're going to be talking about Mitali's vegan journey, as well as some of the changes and challenges that she experienced along the way. We'll also talk about her book and her current services and offerings for authors all around the world. Thanks for joining. And so we will get started very soon. And her page on the bottom, the vegan publisher, so you can find her there. Hi there, how are you?
I'm good. How do I? I'm doing this thing now where I need to flip my camera. There it is. There's my face.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you, Angel?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Mitali. Thanks for joining. Thanks for everybody who's joining either live or on the replay. And so just so everybody knows, so Mitali and I met through the Vegan Business Tribe somehow, although I kind of feel like maybe we met before that through
We did, Angel. I think we met in. It's getting a little bit late here in the UK, so give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to put the light on because I just realised, why am I sat in the dark? Hold on. There we go. I have a little bit of light. It's not actually much better, but there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually met, can you believe, feels like eons ago, on, what, I've now forgotten, what was it called?
Was it the Vegan Women's Summit?
No.
Oh, an app.
What's that app? I don't really use it all that much. The app that everyone was using in the pandemic.
Oh, I know now. Clubhouse.
That's it. I was, I knew it started with C, but I just couldn't remember what it was. Yeah, we actually met in a room and we started speaking, and that's how it went.
Yeah. No, and I met so many people on Clubhouse. So I really applaud Clubhouse for stepping in when the world shut down. And I think it's kind of eased up a little bit and regarding like involvement on that app, but there's still some people going strong, so kudos to them.
I know. Yeah. I need to get back on it because I did have fun on it. It's just finding the time, but yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Hi, everybody. As we go along, if you have questions or comments for Mitali, please feel free to put them down below. And we'll pause and ask Mitali to chime in. Meanwhile, I have tons of questions for you, Mitali. So if you're okay with that, I think we can just jump right in and get started.
Go for it.
Awesome. Well, first of all, again, thank you so much for taking the time. I know everybody's super busy. And what I would love for you to share with us, please, is how you started your plant-based vegan journey and how you ended up to where you are today, please.
Well, I started in 2012. It wasn't originally for health reasons. It was my family and I, we adopted a rescue cat in 2010, and she just had a profound effect on me. I didn't grow up with any pets, as a child. So it was very easy for me to believe that animals are just these dumb walking masses of meat, and then having Isha in my life and just seeing how intelligent she was, how sentient she was, and then it was going down a rabbit hole. The more I researched it, the more I realized that cats are not even all that intelligent. There's far more intelligent animals, and we eat a couple of the more intelligent animals, and I just started to feel this is wrong. So it was more out of animal welfare and ethics. That was the route I went down. I think it was maybe about, I would say, 3 or 4 years into being a vegan that I started to discover the health benefits. I'm 45 soon, and this would be, I was going into sort of like my final years in my 30s. And people would say things like, oh my God, you don't look your age, or your skin is glowing, and all this stuff. I'm like, really? Awesome, you know? But then starting to think, wow, this is actually the fact that I'm not putting death and torture and all that stuff into my body. And that's why, you know? So yeah, that came later, 3 or 4 years into my journey, that people would ask me and say, well, what are you doing? And I just thought, well, I'm not really doing anything differently. You know, I mean, I do work out, but I'm talking about I'll do my 3 or 4 workouts. I'm not one of those Instagram gym bunnies, you know. That's not what I do. You know, I used to smoke. I smoked for about 15, 16 years, some of those years quite heavily. I do drink now and again. So I'm definitely not one of these, you know, you get these, my body is a temple kind of people. That wasn't me. And yet people were saying, hey, you look, you know, what are you doing? And the only thing I could think of is, well, I don't put animal flesh and animal secretions in my body. That's the only thing I'm not doing that you're doing. So that's when it dawned on me, okay, there's a huge health aspect here that I wasn't aware of.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing and thank you for being honest, because I think you know, you're one of the rare ones of coming in for the animals. And I have heard people say, you know, they touched their dog's leg and they felt, oh my gosh, but that could be a chicken leg, or, you know, things like that. So I have heard that. And so I just really applaud you for being so intuitive. And you're right. You know, they say, for example, pigs are highly, highly intelligent. You know, compared to say cats, you know, and you know,
Yeah,
of course,
did you
they're
know
all
the
amazing.
average pig has a sentience of a 3 to 4 year old human child?
Yes,
So
yes.
you kind of think of that, it kind of just makes you shiver, not in a
I,
good way. It's like,
I
oh God.
I know. And for anyone out there who's doubting this, what I recommend, and this is what happened to me, what I recommend is that you tune into, you start following and visiting animal sanctuaries if you can. If you can't visit them physically, I personally have not visited any physically. However, I follow a ton of them on social media, and it's through observing them in safe environments that
Yes.
I can see their transition from a trauma response of when they were, you know, held in slaughterhouses, to a more relaxed, natural response, and the relationships that they build and their natural behaviors and their natural
Yeah.
personalities come out, and they're all so unique. And so if anyone is doubting what we are discussing here, I invite you to start following some animal sanctuaries or visit them, or, you know, look at some documentaries, that, and not only the, I'm not only talking about like the, you know, very, very difficult documentaries, like Earthlings and Dominion. I'm talking also about documentaries that feature animal sanctuaries, and you can
Yeah.
see, you know, cows bouncing around like dogs and puppies. And it's like,
They
how
are,
is
I
this
mean, it's just
possible?
wonderful to see. It makes you realize how much you know, a lot of what you know or you think you know is just stuff that's been drip fed into you. So you're indoctrinated into thinking, well, chickens are dumb. They just kind of go cluck cluck and walk into walls. But you know, cats are obviously beautiful, intelligent creatures. Dogs are very intelligent, but pigs aren't, even though pigs actually are more intelligent than dogs. It's been proven they're more intelligent than dogs. So it's kind of like, you know, it's speciesism. That's what it's called. It's
Yes.
believing that an animal is just the characteristics that you've given it, or it's been drip fed into you, instead of seeing it for what it is. I mean, I've held a chicken and they will sit and they will purr. I
Yes.
didn't know. No one told me. When I was a kid, I was singing, you know, songs about farmers and they had chickens and the chickens went cluck cluck. You know, that's what we sang. They don't tell you that chickens actually purr when they're content and safe and happy. And
Right. And that's
that
such
just,
a good
you
point.
know, so much we don't know.
That's such a beautiful point. And I'll just say one last thing on that, because also, you know, animals love music, which
Yes.
is, you know, was shocking to me. I mean, you know, once I started to watch these documentaries and these, you know, animal sanctuary videos, that they actually respond to music. And you're right, they do have the, they'll come up and snuggle you. I've even seen like chickens snuggling on, human.
They do. They'll snuggle if they feel, which sadly the vast majority will never ever feel that safe. They're born into fear and trauma. But as long as you, like you said, I love that you're sort of inviting your audience not to, if the hard ones, I've seen them. I mean, I needed to see them to really fully understand. But it's not for everybody. Yeah. So you don't have to see things like Earthlings and Dominion. Just see the happy ones. Just see what animals, supposed food animals, what they're actually like when they're just allowed to live to their natural age. I remember watching this sanctuary, and they were telling me that cows, if you leave them to live until their natural lifespan, which is 20 to 25 years, the vast majority die before 5 or 6 years. And that's your dairy cows. Your beef cows will be dead within a year to 18 months. So they will actually have besties. They will find a platonic best friend, and they will keep that best friend for their entire lives.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. No, you're so right. And they also find best friends across species, like not only even within their own species. One of the animal sanctuaries I follow in Spain, shout out to you all, Santuario Vegan, and they were showing a rescued baby goat with a rescued baby duck.
Oh my God,
and
I need to see that.
Yes, and they were just like, just having like such a moment,
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that. And that's what you'll see. You don't have to always see the hard stuff. Just seeing that will make you realize that, oh, they're actually just like us. They love, and they have family ties, and they make friends, and even friends outside of their species, and they're just like us, really.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up. We do have a question. Thanks for the question. Realtor for Real is asking, do you take vitamins or B12 supplements, etc.?
I do. So there's a vegan society here in the UK, and they do a brilliant multivitamin. Because I work so hard as a publisher, I'm currently working with 33 authors, so they keep me very busy. I love what I do, but they keep me very, very busy. So therefore, I don't always have the time to cook. I love cooking from scratch. And if I was able to always cook from scratch, I wouldn't need the supplements. A lot of people, non-vegans, kind of believe that they need supplements. And it's like, well, no, they don't. You don't need supplements. The reason you need supplements has got nothing to do with whether you're a vegan or a non-vegan. The reason why we all need supplements at the moment is the entire food system is broken. Even the vegan food is processed and doesn't give you all the nutrition that you need. If you actually cook from scratch, you will not need any supplements. Unfortunately, because of what I do, and my business is I see my business as my activism. I work with specifically vegan, plant-based, ethical, sustainable, responsible business owners. And because I'm so passionate about helping these people go to that next level in their business by becoming a published author, I do have to sacrifice a little bit of my health. So yes, I do take supplements from the Vegan Society. That has, the typical ones, B12, D1, D3, and a few others that I never really remember, but I trust them to know what they're doing. So yes, I do. So that's the only one.
No, thanks for the question. Thanks for the answer. I mean, unless we're growing our own food, we basically don't really have a lot of control over the nutrients in them. Unless we're controlling the quality of the soil, for example, then we really will not have a lot of confidence and knowledge in what we're eating. And you did get a thank you from Realtor for Real.
Oh, awesome. Oh, I'm happy you got that. The B12, I don't know if you know, the B12 thing is something I only discovered, I think, last year. So I've always thought B12 is the big one. That's the one that non-vegans talk about, don't they? They're like, but you have to take B12 supplements Therefore, we don't have to take B12 supplements. That's why you should be eating animals. That's their reason for eating animals. And I'm like, yeah, your animal was force-fed B12 supplements. So basically, I took the B12 supplement. You forced another being to take your B12 supplement so you can eat it. The sad case here is B12 comes from soil.
Yes,
And
the
it's been
microbes in the
leached.
soil.
Yeah, it's been leached out of most of the planet now because of over farming. So it's not a vegan problem. It is a human problem.
Yeah.
We are all deficient in B12,
Yeah.
and we all need to be taking supplements. I just prefer to take one directly than rather have a poor traumatized being take the B12 supplement and then me eat it. I'd rather just eat it myself.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
Yeah, no, and thanks for expanding on that. I actually just because I'm in a lot of vegan groups on social media, on Facebook in particular, lots of vegan support groups, and someone came in and asked this question, but shouldn't we eat animals because, you know, they have the B12? And, you know, I just copied and pasted 2 links from very reliable sources as to where the B12 actually comes from. So yeah, I mean, we're under the impression that, you know, these animals, cows and sheep and goats and chickens and pigs are actually the source of B12, but no, it's from, if they were in nature, they would be eating natural plant foods with the microbes in the soil, but they're not even in nature. So they are, you know, given these supplements along with a bunch of other chemicals and
a bunch
of,
yeah, because they're diseased, bless them, they're diseased animals, so they have to be given a ton of antibiotics, antiviral medications. I mean, these animals, bless them, are drugged up to their eyeballs, and then we go and eat them.
Humans consume them, and there's a whole, you know, domino effect on that. But let's get back to let me ask you another question, please. And I want to say hi to everybody who's joining. Thanks so much for joining. Please put your questions and comments down below for Mitali, and we'll pause and ask her to chime in. So Mitali, were there any changes that you experienced along your vegan journey that you would like to share?
Do you mean health-wise, Angel?
Any kind of changes that you felt?
Oh gosh, how long have you got? We'll be here for about 4 hours if we go through. I've been vegan for 11 years now, so there's been loads of changes. Okay, so let me just pick a couple.
Yeah.
So from a health point of view, the biggest change for me has been, so I have a checkered past. When I was 20, just before my 20th birthday, I became addicted to amphetamines and ecstasy. I was living a terrible lifestyle, and I ended up on the streets for a while. And then I was taken into a homeless shelter, and I lived in a homeless shelter for a while. But I was taking amphetamines heavily for about a year, and the way that manifested in me was I lost all my hair. So I used to have hair that I could just, it was thick. I mean, I could sit on it. It was the kind of hair that just grew like weeds. And then all of it, within the space of about 2 months, all of it fell out, all of it completely. And then I got clean. I had a brilliant addiction counselor who helped me, and it took me about a year to get clean. And then once I got clean, my hair started to grow back. However, it grew back this baby soft. I mean, I'm thankful at least I grew it all back. I've met people who never grew it back, or some people grew it back in patches, which looks even worse. And the fact that I was able to grow it back all over my head was a blessing in itself. So I didn't complain too much, but my hair was really, really, really fine. And something that I was very, well, as any woman or man will tell you, it's something you get self-conscious about.
I agree.
You know, you style your hair in a certain way, but in really sort of direct sunlight, you get a little bit worried because you might see too much scalp. You'd be worried about jumping into the pool on holiday or jumping into the sea because, again, that you can see more scalp and that sort of thing. I would say about 4 years into me becoming vegan, my hair just started to grow. It's still I know I've damaged my body to such an extent that it will never be pre-abuse, drug abuse. It will never. That is my punishment basically for being stupid enough to follow that lifestyle. So I take it on the chin. You know, there are consequences to your actions, so you need to just take it on the chin. But the fact that, you know, I don't feel, I never grow it much longer than this, but I can jump into the pool. I don't worry about the sunlight now. I don't, you know, and that was unexpected. Like I said, I never got into veganism for health
No.
reasons. I didn't even know the health reasons. I genuinely got into it for animal ethics and rights. But that was a lovely side effect, if I want to call it that. It was like, wow, my hair is like, you know.
Yeah.
And there was even a lady that I didn't see for about 6 or 7 years because she lives all the way down in Bristol. And she looked at me and went, are you wearing one of those hair systems? She thought I was wearing one of those, you know, you get those hair systems that people glue in. I was like, no. She's like, she's like, can I please have a feel just to be sure? Thankfully, I'm the sort of person who's like, yeah, go for it. I don't care, you know. So I was like, well, yeah, if you want to rake your fingers through my hair, go for it, you know. And she was like, that's your hair. And I was like, yeah. And that was, yeah, that was, like I said, very unexpected, but a wonderful side effect to have.
That's beautiful. Your hair is beautiful, and your hair is thick.
Thank you.
To me, your hair looks thick. I mean, I know what you're describing, like along your journey and everything. But honestly, I could see why that person was blown away, because I wouldn't. I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine, you know, like what you're
People
describing.
don't believe me now. When I have to really tell them, and before that, people would believe me. They'd be like, "Oh, I mean." They'd still be surprised, but they're aware that my hair is fine. They can see that I don't have, but they would never, they probably wouldn't suspect that I had alopecia.
Yes.
But they just, because some people are just born with very fine hair anyway.
Yes,
They don't have alopecia. They're just born with very fine hair. That is just their normal, that's their hair DNA.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people believe that, but then when I tell them about my journey, they go, oh, that's why your hair's thin. Whereas now they go, what? Say again?
That's
made this up.
No, that's beautiful.
So I have to prove to people. It's like, no, I'm serious.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing. And again, thank you for being honest. You know, I think what you are really an example of is and I hope nobody takes this in a terrible way, but I've heard the expression, you know, let's make our mess our message. So some people, you know, make their mess their message.
That. I'm stealing that, Angel.
It's not me.
Make
it's
your
not
mess your message.
Yeah.
I'm stealing that.
Yeah, it's not me. It's not me. This is a saying that I hear a lot, at least in the US. I don't know about other places, but
I haven't heard it here in the UK, but I'm now going to tell everybody in the UK. So I love that. That's brilliant. Make your mess your message.
Yeah. So I really want to applaud you, you know, and so we have Wellness Journey One saying love it. Thank you. Yeah, please put your questions and comments down below. And you had some hearts going up as well while you were sharing.
I did see. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Now, were there any challenges for you along the way since you started, you know, in the early 20-teens when there weren't so many, for example, you know, vegan options, let's put it that way, or maybe it was not a challenge. I'm just wondering if there were any challenges for you along the way that you wanted to share.
Yeah, well, a couple of challenges. So one was from a health aspect. I actually made myself, for the first year, I made myself quite ill being vegan because I wasn't doing it right. I didn't have, this is 2012, I didn't have amazing people like you to guide me. I mean, what you do, and you help people. And there's lots of now vegan, you know, transition coaches that are people helping people become more plant-based, which I love. I've got 6 of them who are writing books with me at the moment. And I'm very passionate. Yeah, I'm passionate about that because the more people that are helping people become plant-based, the better we are, not just for the animals, but for our health, for the planet. It really is like a triple whammy. You know, everything is so much better when we're plant-based. I stupidly just cut out things from my diet. The thing is, if you're going to cut out meat and fish and eggs, you need to think about what you're going to put in, replace that with. And I just kind of didn't. I was just kind of living on, I was going to say chips, but you guys call it fries over there. Just living on fries, you know, because fries are vegan. So fries with ketchup. Not exactly a great meal to be having every single day, is it? So I actually made myself really ill. And then I went to my doctor. And then the most challenging thing, Angel, was my doctor, typical, I'm sure you get this in America as well. Doctors, unfortunately, are not taught about nutrition. they come from this system, and it's not their fault. They're wonderful being. I worked for the NHS for 5 years, so I'm coming from the inside. I worked in psychiatric wards as well, so I was working with nurses and doctors who really, really genuinely want to help. They're just not given. Their training has got nothing to do with nutrition. They literally, it's all about, instead of thinking of prevention, they're coming at it. Something goes wrong. How do we fix it?
And they write on a piece of paper.
Yeah. Whereas nutritionists come from, how do we stop it going crap in the first place?
Exactly.
Which is a much better way of looking at things, you know. And it's not the doctor's fault. So I went to the doctor, and then typically he berated me for going vegan. Not going vegan badly, going vegan. He's like, no, you need to start eating meat, and you need to start drinking milk again. You need to start having cheese. And thankfully, something just didn't ring true. And also, because I came at it not from a health point of view, but I came at it from an animal ethics point of view, I was like, right, okay, I know I need to be healthy, but healthy and spineless, or not healthy, but stick with my ethics. I was like, I'd rather be dead and have ethics than be healthy but not give a crap about the planet and other beings in it. So luckily I had enough. I was stubborn enough to say, I know I need to do something different, but I'm not going to follow this doctor's advice. And I found a plant-based doctor. Wasn't even in the UK. They were based in Israel. Can you believe? I had to track him down in Israel, and we had to have Skype. Do you remember Skype?
Oh yeah.
No one does Skype anymore now.
I still use Skype with someone.
I haven't logged into my Skype for so long, I don't even know what color it is now. Like, well, have they changed it?
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
But I've tracked him down. We ended up having a Skype consultation, and he started helping me implement things to replace the fact that I'm no longer eating meat and dairy and that sort of thing. So yeah, that was a challenge, and having a doctor tell me off and make me feel like I was in the wrong.
It's very common. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I get it even now. Like, my mother has just been put on statins, which I'm not happy about. I know she needs them, but I'm at the moment liaising with another plant-based doctor now in the UK, because there's now plant-based doctors in the UK. And I'm gonna get an appointment for my mother because I want her off statins within a year. And again, the doctor was telling her, oh well, it's you're she's 70 this year. It's like, well, you're nearly 70, so therefore these things happen, and it's not their fault. That's what they're told. They're told that you get to a certain age and you just need to put up with the fact that your kidneys stop failing and your heart. No, I've met people in their 80s and 90s who have got hearts like a 25-year-old.
And they're running
it's
marathons.
Not a consequence of age.
And they're running
all those
marathons.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, these are not things that are a consequence of age. These are a consequence of a lifetime of eating crap. That's all it is.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry to hear about your mother, but I am confident that she can get off of them.
Oh, I know. I know she will.
Yeah, over 20 years ago, I was told I was obese, that I needed something written on a piece of paper to lower my cholesterol. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I wasn't vegan. I was vegetarian, pescatarian. And I just decided I'm going to eat fruit and nuts for breakfast, beans, rice, vegetables, herbs, and spices for lunch, and then fruits and nuts for dinner. Lost a ton of weight, lowered my cholesterol. I had like 4 or 5 medical professionals writing down what I did. What did you do? How did you do this? And I just told them, yes, I did exercise, but, I think, I know it's possible. I know it's possible to lower your cholesterol, to clean out, that gunk and guck that kind of gets stuck in there. So it is doable, and I'm just so happy that you are there to support your mother.
And she's already doing well. She's given up cheese. She's now loving my pea protein milk, so she's replaced the milk with pea protein milk. The only thing that she's struggling to give up is fish. She comes from Bangladesh, and I don't know if there's any Bangladeshis in the crowd, but Bangladeshi people love their fish. Yeah. They grew up on fish, so she really struggles with that. So I'm giving her that for now. I'm like, okay, you've done really well so far. You've given up all the others. She's never really eaten meat. She's never got on with meat, so that was never even an issue. So yeah, we're getting there, and then I'm keen to get her to see this plant-based doctor and see what we can do. But I'm confident. Give her about a year. I'd love it if she got to her 70th birthday and she was like, I don't need to be on statins. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I think she can do it. I really do.
I
And the
do.
good news, yeah, and I really applaud you and your mother. You know, and what I feel too is there's so many more, like, even, you know, seafood and fish plant-based options nowadays.
Oh my God, it's huge. Yes, I keep telling her. She's yeah. She's whingy. I think it's a little. You got to be gentle.
Yeah.
You got to be gentle. This is literally, this change has only happened in the last, I've seen since November last year. So it's still early days, and the fact that she's made the changes that she's already made.
Yeah.
I mean, this woman was addicted to her cheddar.
Yeah.
She loved her cheddar.
It's very
When she'd go
addictive.
to India, she would win. She would come back to this country, Angel. She wouldn't be able to stand more than about 18 months in India because India doesn't have cheddar. She'd want
but you
to
know,
come back to the UK for cheddar.
but you know, no, and I understand. I mean, I personally was not like that, but I understand because the casein in cheese is addictive. Plus, we don't know which additives and you know, flavors, and of course the colors and all that junk they put in there. So, you know, I'm not surprised, to be honest. And I've heard many people say that cheese was the last holdout, and they just can't.
Yeah. You know what, Angel? One thing I've learned, a really good thing that I've learned over time to say to people who've pretty much given everything else up, but they're struggling with the cheese, or even people who just don't want to do any of it. You know, you meet them at a party and like, oh, I couldn't do what you do. I love my cheese too much. You know, you always get that. Like, so I'm not going to do any of it, which to me makes no sense. Like, well, at least give up all the other stuff then, if you want to stick to your cheese. But then they will just like literally not do any of it because of addicted to cheese. And I found over time the best way to get them to start to think, you know, that maybe you might have a point is like, well, of course you don't. That's like me telling somebody who's addicted to crack to give up crack. It's like, and they'll go like, what are you talking? And then I was like, well, you do realize there's something called casein that's in milk. And they'll go, yeah. And the reason it's there is because it's there to addict the baby. So the baby drinks it. So they grow up like, yeah. And then if you concentrate it into a cheese, which no other animal would ever think of doing, only us messed up human beings would ever think of doing it. And I just like, what do you call cocaine that's been shrunk into? And they go, oh, that's crack. And I'm like, well, that's what cheese is. So I'm not going to blame you at all for the fact that you can't get off it. It took me a long time to get off it. You have my sympathy. And that gets them thinking, because you're not attacking them. You're not doing the whole, well, it's wrong. Do you know that animals have died for you to eat cheese? And that just gets people's backs up. Instead, I just say, can you see what you're doing to yourself mentally and physically? You're addicted to a highly addictive substance that's being concentrated to make you even more addicted.
And the added flavors, you know, and the
all
added
sorts of
flavors
stuff.
and the textures that they come up with in these, you know, manufacturing plants. So, you know, and you know, that's very powerful what you were saying, I have to say.
It's worked. I've used this on a few people, and instead of getting pushback, they've kind of went, oh. And I think I've noticed, Angel, if you speak to non-vegans in a more collaborative way, you know, in a way that says, hey, I was there as well, and I don't blame you, and I don't blame you for thinking this, because I thought like this. And almost, I think, you know, what's that old saying? If your enemy is my enemy, then we're friends.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's a good one.
If you can kind of position animal agriculture, and you're not even making this up, if you position animal agriculture, rightly so, as the enemy of human beings, then suddenly vegans and non-vegans have something we can collaborate on. It's like vegans almost helping non-vegans. It's like, hey, we're not fighting you. We feel bad for you because we were there where you were, but we've escaped and you're still in it and you don't realize it, and we're trying to help you. And you come at it from a very sincere point of view. I'm always amazed how many non-vegans then will hit me up a few days later and say, tell me more about what you said. I'm interested. I need to know more how your brain's thinking, because you got me thinking about this. I never thought of it in this way. But yeah, I found that works. I've done the whole confronting them with the horrors of animal agriculture, and people just shut down. they just shut down. They're just like, I can't deal with this. And when people shut down, you can't reach them anymore.
I agree. And thank you for sharing that, because I guess it was 2 days ago, I shared a tweet on my Instagram page. Long story short, um, I haven't gotten that many views on a post in a really long time. And it was basically, I was basically saying, we have to be patient and compassionate with people who are trying,
Yes.
and there's so much confusion between what is plant-based, what is vegan, and so anyway, I'm really not into bashing people who are on their journey, because they're really trying, and in this particular tweet, a vegan was making fun of someone who said that they were 85% vegan, and of course, and they were making fun of them. And I was like, well, in my opinion, first of all, there's so much confusion. There's just such a lack of support. Anyway, long story short, there was like a lot of good, conversation in the chat on my post. So I really applaud you for, bringing that element in. Now we have a question from Wellness Journey 1. Any suggestions for easy, balanced vegan meals?
Oh, right. Well, I make an amazing butternut chili. I don't know if you've ever done it, but yeah, I never ever thought butternut squash. You just stick it in the food processor and it goes into strings, and you use that instead of mince. And I just make a chili with just butternut, not like, it doesn't even have any sort of vegan meats, like substitute meats. It's just butternut chili, and then I use loads of chilies, and I just let it sit there for about 2 hours until it goes all gooey. That I eat, like, I would say every couple of weeks I have to eat that. So that, and then I make anything to do with beans. I think when you said, Angel, that beans are just, I think a lot of people have forgotten that there's so many different kinds of beans. Like, go out there and explore the beans. Like, most people just kind of think of kidney and white beans, and that's it. I'm like, oh hell no, there's so many different kinds of beans. You need to go out and try different things. I come from an Indian background, as you can tell, so I have this need to just curry everything. So I do just curry everything given half a chance. My mother just wants to bhaji everything, which is not actually all that healthy. I can't keep stopping her and say, yeah, but that's fried stuff, so let's try and cut down on that.
Yeah.
But she wants to bhaji everything. But anything to do with beans and pulses. But try butternut. I'm not even going to give you the recipe. You don't need the recipe. I forgot the name of who asked this. You don't need my recipe. Okay, just whatever you've got, whatever recipe you use, whether it's in your head or written down or wherever, that you use to make a chili. Most people have a chili recipe, like a go-to chili recipe. Try adding butternut squash, or replacing whatever you use as the main chili ingredient, and use butternut squash, and see how that goes, because I love that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thanks for the question there, Wellness Journey 1. Yeah. And what I would say, is, if you want some kind of starch, sweet potatoes are great. The purple potatoes would be great. You want a lot of color in your food. Well, we're getting a yummy thank you from Wellness Journey 1.
Let me know how it goes. Send me pictures. I'd love to know what your butternut chili. It was a revelation. You just don't think of butternut, do you? You just kind of,
I agree.
Not the first thing you think of, but it works.
Yeah, and I eat butternut raw. So I actually, I actually take the peel off and I blend it in like a smoothie, or you can make like a savory soup that's, like the Spanish gazpacho, but it would be
You're
like
blowing my mind, Angel. I've never done that.
Or
you could even, I'm gonna have to try that.
Or you could even make like a dip or a paste, or a close to like a hummus. I do that with sweet potatoes, raw sweet potatoes, and I will put lots of herbs and spices, because it's really the herbs and spices that give a lot of these dishes a flavor. And then I'll put like flaxseed to make it thick, and of course you're getting those clean and healthy proteins and omega fats in there as well. And then I might even put an apple in there for the sweet, or because I like sweet and savory. But I would say, for a balanced meal, something easy and simple, get some sweet potatoes or purple potatoes or quinoa or buckwheat, And then, brown rice or wild rice, and then get tons of veggies, tons of herbs and spices, tons of lentils and beans. They all have different colors. You want your colors. You want your reds, oranges, yellows, greens, blues, purples, whites, browns, and blacks. You want the rainbow, a wide variety of colors. Each color has a different nutrient profile. So you were talking about beans, the red beans have different nutrients than the black beans compared to the navy beans, compared to the white beans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And same with the lentils. You have the yellow and the brown and the red and the this one and the that one. So, there's so many options. So you don't have to be bored.
I know. There is. I mean, that's the other thing as well. I am a real fan of all the sort of meat substitutes, as in they're great for people who are transitioning. I went to Plant-Based World Expo last year in London, and I was just walking around the stores, and the innovation was incredible. Like the two main ingredients that seem to be having a moment in 2022 was mushrooms. What they were doing with mushrooms was incredible. And pea protein. At one stage, I walked around the stores, and there was one store that was selling pea protein meatballs. Then another store that was selling pea protein spaghetti and pasta, and another store that was doing pea protein cheese. And I just suddenly thought, I can just literally have a spaghetti bolognese meal with cheese on top, and all I'd be eating is pea protein. That's probably not really good for my health, but so I do love them. It helps people transition, but the more allow this to help you transition, but then start looking at all the amazing fruit and vegetables out there, because the truth is, it gets to the stage where I now very rarely, it's only when I eat out that I will actually eat something that is a vegan substitute. So things like seitan or pea protein or stuff like that. Most of the stuff that I eat now is just fruit and vegetables, just cooked, and there's so much variety. Just get out there and discover it, and you'll be amazed.
I agree. Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I started off as a junk food vegan.
I think we all did. Yep.
I wholeheartedly admit that. I started off with the vegan burgers, the French fries,
I did.
The muffins, the pastries, the brownies. I mean, people have heard me say this before. If it said vegan, I was like, yes, please, ma'am. One, maybe two. And so I totally.
The thing is, we're traumatized, Angel. The thing is, when we went vegan, it was so nice to have something that had the V on it. You felt like you had to eat it. It was like your duty, goddammit, to eat it, because there was like, you walk into a cake shop and there's one cake labeled vegan. You're not going to walk out of that shop now without eating it. So it took me a long while to stop doing that and just say, I can leave it. I can actually walk away and leave it.
No, and you're right. Like, I was just thrilled that it said vegan. I was like, oh my gosh! But you're right. Like now it's thankfully a little bit more popular, although not as popular as I wanted. So hashtag the future is vegan. We have a comment from the unexpected activist. That's still me. Yeah, I see your I see your post. But you're awesome.
You do feel down here. I do. I feel almost guilty. It's almost like my inner vegan is going, you have to support this.
Yeah.
And I still, I'll be honest with you, I still do in completely vegan vendors. If it's like a big corporation like Starbucks and they've got something that's vegan in there, I can now walk away. But if it's a vegan business, I still feel that I need to support this business. I need to make sure they don't go under. So even when I'm not hungry, I will go and eat loads of stuff just to make sure that I spend money with them.
No, I know that feeling. Believe me. Now we have a question from Landapack. It's on the bottom here. Which vegan product should we stay away from? I heard all products aren't good for your diet. So what are your thoughts on that, Mitali?
Well, my thoughts on that is like it's really boring and simple. You've got to think about processing. Okay, so you walk down your fruit and veg aisle. How much processing has gone on there? Not much. And then you go down the vegan aisle, which always makes me laugh, because when people say the vegan aisle, I in my head, I'm thinking the fruit and veg aisle. So I always think when people say the vegan aisle, they're talking about the fruit and veg aisle. No, they're not. They're talking about the aisle which has loads of green V's everywhere. So I'm not saying, I wouldn't say avoid them. I do still eat them, but just be wary of the fact that this has gone through a lot of processing. you know. It's like bread. I'm a big fan of bread, but bread doesn't like me. I'll be honest with you, it does not like me. So I have to limit myself to maybe 2 or 3 slices a week maximum. I shouldn't eat more than that, because if I always say, I remember somebody telling me, and this was something that stayed with me. It's like, if you look at something and ask yourself, can you envisage it as it is in a field somewhere? So when you walk down a fruit and veg aisle, you see an apple. Can you envisage that in the field? Well, yes, you can. You can envisage trees. You can envisage an orchard with loads of, apples hanging on. Then you look at a loaf of bread. You have to start thinking of something completely different. You've got to start thinking of wheat leaves blowing in the wind. Looks nothing like the bread. So you have to sit there and think, how different does something look from the source to when it ends up on your plate? And if it looks very different, I'm not saying you have to completely avoid it, but just be aware it must have gone through a hell of a lot of processes for it to end up on your plate. And those are the things that I personally am where, like bread, for example. I love bread, but you don't see loaves of bread whistling in the wind. Think of what you have to do to that wheat for it to end up as bread. You got to do a hell of a lot to it. And therefore, I know straight away it's not good for me. So therefore, I limit it. It's the same thing with a lot of the vegan stuff. A lot of the vegan meats that have come out, they're wonderful. Like I said, they're wonderful for people who are transitioning. And I'm thankful for all these companies making it easier for people to follow an ethical plant-based diet. But as you go into your journey, start learning how to cook. Follow people like Angel. She comes up with great advice, and learn how to cook. You don't need to cook. Another thing I've noticed is people who want to learn about 30 different recipes. I'm like, no, I've got 5 core recipes that I just make again and again. I've got so good now that I'm convinced I can take on a chef. I probably shouldn't be able to do that, but I'm convinced I can take, because I've cooked them so often. I've got it down to, an art basically. Do that, and then go and find friends who are also plant-based or trying to become plant-based, and then swap your foods with each other. That's what I do. I've got a few people that I cook for, and then they give me food as well. And that is a better way of doing it, and overwhelm free, than trying to learn 20, 30, 40 different recipes. Find a few that you really, really like. Learn to cook, and then treat yourself. So I go out with my friends and I really fancy that, Beyond Meat burger. I'm not going to stop myself. I want a Beyond Meat burger, so I'm going to eat a Beyond Meat burger.
Exactly.
But that'll only happen once every couple of months, if that.
Yeah. No, thank you for that, and that's such a beautiful idea. Well, I know, finding like your we call them like your go-to recipes. So just find your 5, like you're saying, find your 5 go-to recipes that you always have those ingredients in your pantry, in your refrigerator, in your freezer, or if you're raw, they're probably on your counter, and you always know what you're gonna be eating, in a pinch, in a rush, and what I would add to what you were saying too is, I mean, if it's in a box, it's probably processed, and so you might want to kind of ease up on those. They're for convenience or curiosity or communication. You want to communicate to someone else and share with someone else. Oh yeah, I had this this such and such a burger, or this such and such a pasta, or something like that. But yeah, if it's in a box, if it was made in a manufacturing plant and it was not grown on a plant, then it's not the ideal option. But of course, we all consume those less optimal foods at times. Now we have another interesting one here from Landapack. Thanks for the questions. You may have answered this, but what are healthy vegan or plant-based desserts? What's your favorite healthy one? So desserts, what would you say?
Yeah, well, my favorite healthy dessert is using avocado and then using cocoa with avocado and leaving in the fridge, and it turns it into a mousse.
Yes.
I remember the first time someone told me that, and I was like, that sounds disgusting. I just couldn't work it out. I was like, avocado with cocoa. It works. I don't know what happens to it, but it actually works. You need a very soft
Yeah.
avocado, by the way. Don't use like a hard,
No.
firm avocado. You need a really smushed up avocado. But yeah, that is probably my favorite thing I do. And then my mother, she makes this amazing dessert. You know, you get like rice
Yeah.
pudding. It's the same concept, but she makes it with vermicelli. So you know, get that
Oh,
angel hair pasta, and she makes it's creamy, and she uses my pea protein milk or my almond milk or whatever I'm drinking, and she makes that. That is really, really good. And very filling. You don't need much of
no.
that. So yeah, those are my favorites to go for. And then, like I said, I will treat myself to that vegan cake every so often, but I just don't like I said, like cakes are really. I always say baking is like it's like alchemy. I've never been a baker. I'm the sort of person that will ruin any cake. I just can't bake. And I don't think baking is cooking. I do actually genuinely believe that baking cakes is a form of alchemy,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
you gather in a bowl, you stick it in the oven, and there's completely different thing pops out. You just think,
Yeah.
how did that happen? But again, going back to that thing of how different does it look? If you didn't tell a child that you can put flour and oil and stuff into a bowl and it blows up into a cake, they would never even they couldn't. Whereas if you tell them, you show them, for example, the vermicelli dessert, they can see it. They're like, oh, vermicelli and the milk. Yeah, I can see how that comes together. You tell them the avocado mousse is cocoa powder, and they go, oh yeah, I can see that. But you tell them you can just put some oil and some baking soda and you can flour, and then it turns into a cake. They're like, really? That can actually happen? That means it's processed. So again,
Yeah.
I limit the amount of vegan cake that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And you know, if you want like a simple dessert, I think fruit is nature's candy. And so, you know, you might, you know, fruits are, you know, the sweet fruits. Of course, we have savory fruits like tomatoes, cucumbers, and all of those. But you know, just get some sweet fruit if you're not sure what you want to have as a dessert. You know, it's all healthy, that great fiber, and you just get all of the hydration, the aroma, the nutrients. So that's my contribution to that question. Now, I do want to ask you, Mitali, how did you become interested in publishing, and why do you brand yourself as a vegan publisher?
Well, I got into publishing because I'm actually just hooking my charger in because I didn't want to disappear. I just got that annoying battery is going. I'm like, oh, great. So I didn't want to disappear on you. So I've just hooked myself in, and then hopefully my battery will actually stay. So yeah, I was a writer. I'm a former journalist. And then I started writing articles for a number of businesses around the world. That led to copywriting. And then one of my copywriting clients asked me to write a book. And I remember thinking, oh, hell, never written one of those before. But I've always believed that you've just got to say yes sometimes. So I said, well, okay, I've never done it before. So as long as you're gentle with me and you don't give me a harsh deadline, I'll do it. It took me 18 months of hell to write that book. I actually wanted to give up. I was so annoyed with it that I actually wanted to say, no, I don't want to do this anymore. But he'd given me 50% of my fee up front, and then he was paying me the final 50% on delivery. I'd spent all that money, Angel. I couldn't refund him because I'd spent all this money. So I had to carry on writing that book. I was screwed. So wrote the book. It did really well. He told everyone about it. I ended up then writing another 6 books. I wrote 7 books as a ghostwriter. By the time I wrote my 7th book, I'd done it in about 4 weeks. So we'd gone from 18 months to 4 weeks. So I realized, I've actually created subconsciously a bit of a structure that I now follow. And I just thought, well, what if I showed people my structure, and then I can help more people write books, and people write their own books instead of someone like me writing for them, because I'm expensive. Ghostwriters, a good ghostwriter will charge you at least $10,000 upwards to write a book. That's not even taking into consideration things like editing, cover design, typesetting, all the extra stuff. That's just the writing. You'll be charged about $10,000. So I thought, if I can teach people to write their own books, then even business owners who, you know, your small business owners can still write a book and get visibility and media attention and all that stuff that business owners need to succeed. So that's how I got into it. And since then, so this was 2019 I started. I've now published 22 authors. And yeah, I've got 33 authors that I'm working with at the moment who will be published over the next 1 to 2 years, depending on how quickly they write their books, basically.
That is beautiful. And thank you for just being so honest.
Oh yeah, it's weird. Like if I actually had the money to refund my client, I wouldn't be sat here today. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I would have just said, hell no, I'm not going through that again. I'm never writing a book again in my life. And I probably would have just carried on writing sales pages and landing pages and adverts, and that's what I was doing. But yeah, I couldn't refund him because I'd spent all of his money.
Well, I just want to
Oh
thank
my God.
whoever that was, because what that proves to me, well, it proves many things, but what that proves to me is that this person saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself. Now, it proves also on your part that you were, courageous enough to say yes. I mean, you were honest from the get-go. Listen, this is my first time, so, be gentle. But, I really applaud you for stepping into your greatness and stepping into the challenge. And now look at you. So
I know. It just goes to show how I'd love to say that this is a huge master plan that I had. It wasn't. It's all, a lot of my life has just happened by accident and me just going, okay, let's go with this. Let's see what happens. And yeah, the whole vegan publisher came about in 2020. So I started, well, it was one lady, Heather Landex, and she found out that I was vegan. She says, why don't you talk about that? You're a publisher, you're a book consultant, you help people write and publish books, and yet you never talk about the fact that you're vegan. And I was like, well, I'm not ashamed of it. If you look at my personal social media, it's all over there that I'm vegan, so I'm not hiding it, but it's got nothing to do with my business. And she said, you're kind of missing a trick here. If you specifically wanted to work with a group of people, you'd become known as the go-to person. There's loads of other book consultants and publishers out there. You're just one of many. And then I thought, oh my God, she's got a point. And also, by then, I'd had a couple of ethical business owners who had written books with me, and I had more fun with them. They had more of a mission and a story and a why. So I thought, well, this is really, really good. I can be seen as the go-to person within the ethical plant-based vegan movement, because there's still, by the way, it's 2023, there's still nobody else that does what I do. There is a publisher based in the US called Vegan Publishers, but they are a traditional publisher, and they don't help you write a book, and they only publish books to do specifically with veganism. Whereas I'm working with business owners to write a book. It doesn't necessarily have to be about veganism. It's really a book to market their business so they become seen as the go-to person in their niche. So for example, if they could be an accountant or a financial planner, but they want to be seen as the go-to person. I've had one lady, Amanda Redmond, she's a financial planner, and she wanted to be seen as the go-to person for women who are terrible at financial planning and they want to plan their futures. So she wrote a book, she published it last year, and then in January of this year, she was in the Financial Times in the UK. That's one of the biggest financial papers in the world. It's based in the UK, but people read it all over the world. And she was featured in that. So this is like money can't buy advertising. She didn't pay for that, by the way. It's an editorial. It's money can't buy advertising. And now she's swamped with offers and people wanting to work with her and partnerships and people who want to invest in her business. And, so there's only me who does what I do within the vegan, plant-based, ethical, sustainable sphere. So, yeah, and I just thought, I was worried. I was a bit scared at first because I thought, what about people who are not vegan? Would that put them off? Since I became the vegan publisher in 2020, my business has doubled. So it just goes to show niching down. I'm sure I have turned some people off, but I don't care. I'm like,
when you're not for them.
Yeah, and the thing is, if they have the fact that I'm vegan, I'm not even telling people to be vegan. I prefer it if you are, because it's the right thing to do by yourself and for other beings. But if you're not, you're not. I'm not pushing my feelings onto you. If me just being vegan causes a problem, you're not meant to be working with me anyway. So yeah. I wish I did it earlier now.
That Awesome. Now you have a book. Please tell us about your book.
Well, my book is all about my past clients and what they did with their book, how they used it to build their business. Because I think that's a crucial thing that people forget, or people don't know about. You know, they want to write a book, but they can't really see, yeah, you write a book, that's great. But what happens after that? Like, how does that help my business? How does that get me into newspapers and magazines? How do I use that to get more clients or higher paying clients? Or how do I use that to get investors interested in investing in my business? And that's what the book is all about. It's all case studies of 7 of my clients, and you literally follow their stories, how they were able to use their book to do all of these things. And they now, all of them have 6-figure brands. 2 of them now have 7-figure brands, because they'll be able to build their business to such an extent. And, you know, like I said, it's money can't buy advertising. So yeah, if you're thinking about writing a book, but you're on the fence, so you're not sure whether it will work for your business, I urge you, go and get the Freedom Master Plan. And either way, you'll know by the end of it. If maybe perhaps at the end of it, you'll be like, nope, writing a book would definitely not work for my business. That's cool. At least you can now put that in a box and forget about it, and you don't have to worry about writing a book anymore. But either way, by the time you get to the end of it, it's either a yes, I really should write a book, or no, a book wouldn't work for me. And either way, you have your answer then.
Yeah, and well, first of all, I applaud you for that. What is the name of your book and where can people find it?
It's called the Freedom Master Plan. So it's the Freedom Master Plan.
I
Just
can
go to Amazon.
you.
It's just behind me. Yes, it is. There it is. But yeah, just it's on every Amazon platform worldwide. So wherever you're in the world, whether it's .com, .co.uk, .de, whatever Brazil is, you know, wherever you are, you can just put in the Freedom Master Plan, or you can put in my name. It's Mitali Day per case there, if you can spell it. If you can put that surname in, there's only me on the planet and my siblings with that surname. So literally, we Googled ourselves to see if there's anybody else. No, my family is the only one that has this very strange surname. So you will find me if you stick that on Amazon as well.
Fantastic. Now, tell us, please, about a little bit more. I know you kind of sprinkled it in there as I was, asking questions and all. But can you tell us a little bit more about your current services and offerings for authors?
Yeah. Well, I'll call my signature offering is I've got a membership platform. And it's something last year I had a full-blown video course, and I was charging people just under $1,500 to access it. And it shows them literally blow by blow how to research, how to plan, how to write, how to do a full developmental edit of the book, and also advice on where to find the best editors, the best cover designers, literally showing and how to publish on Amazon. So the whole thing. And I would charge people just under $1,500 for it. What made me sad was there were a lot of people who were saying, it's huge value for money. In fact, you should be charging more than what you're charging. However, I can't afford it. And I was like, how do I help these people? Especially because I'm working with vegan, plant-based, ethical, sustainable, responsible business owners, not just, money hungry people, but people who genuinely want to make a difference in the world. So I thought, how do I help these people? So I created my Conscious Authors Alliance. And this is a membership hub. I've got 33 authors in there at the moment. I'm hoping to build it up to 200 by the end of the year. I've got loads of people who are interested in going into it. And what it is, you've got the full video step-by-step walkthrough showing you how to write a book. But then I've also got awesome experts who come in and they do 1.5 hour masterclasses where they show you how to market yourself as a business owner and a future author. So for example, I had a lovely lady, Kathleen Gage, come in a couple of weeks ago, and she showed you how to use your book to get onto the biggest podcasts in the world. I had a wonderful lady, Rebecca Gates-Wicki, who has a travel blog. She only started it this time 2 years ago, can you believe, with zero experience. Her blog now gets 50,000 visitors a month. And she did a whole masterclass on how you can do that and copy her success and create a blog for your business that can get that many visitors. So we have guest experts coming in. I do twice weekly coaching calls where people can jump on and if they get stuck on something. And it's a whole hub, and all the authors are now helping each other out. So I've got one author who's just been on a huge podcast, and she's now recommended a few other people in the alliance to the same podcast host. I had a gentleman ask me just a few days ago, so when my book comes out, can I ask the alliance members to go and buy my book on a particular day, so I've got the biggest chance of becoming a bestseller? I said, well, of course you can. You know, you can't hold a gun to their head, of course not, but you can ask them, and I bet they will say yes, because I bet they'll want you to do the same back for them when their book comes out. So I'm creating an alliance, and that's why I called it the Conscious Authors Alliance. So that is the main one. So I urge people to go and check that out, see if you're interested in it. How much am I charging at the moment? I have somebody else do pricing strategy because I can't be bothered with all of that. I think it's $47 a month or something like that. And there's no contract. You just stay in it for as long as you want. And when you don't want it anymore, you can come out of it whenever you want. And I found that's been a big success. People who struggle to afford just the video platform, they now can afford this. Plus, they get so much more than just a standalone video course. They've now got a whole community of ethical authors that they can network with and meet guest experts and that sort of thing. And then I do have some people who want to work with me one-to-one, and I always say go into the alliance first, and if you then feel you need more support, we can talk about it and we can do some one-to-one. And you know, I have a team of vegan editors, cover designers, typesetters, so you can use my team if you want professional editing, cover design, whatever it is you want. But yeah, I would say the alliance is the best place to go and meet everybody, get a feeling for what I do, get a feeling for all of the other experts that come in and do guest masterclasses. And then if you need more, some people don't. Some people just think this is more than enough for me. I don't need anything more. Thank you very much. And I'm fine with that. But then every so often someone say I need a little bit more support on this, and then we can discuss that.
Yeah, well, you know, I want to applaud you for, you know, bringing in this word and this concept and this energy of community, because this is just something that's just been coming up so much in my world, and I guess in everyone else's world, of community, of that support, not just kind of blowing in the wind on your own. So I can definitely see why people want to, you know, tune in and tap into what you're offering in that community, because you know, it's like someone is there holding your hand along the way.
Yeah, it's really, and what really makes my heart feel so full is when I see authors helping each other. You know, so that's lovely. You know, an author will say, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with the positioning of my you know, the book angle here, or I'm struggling with, do I serve this audience or that audience? Because sometimes you may have more than one audience and you're thinking, which is the main audience that my book should serve? And what's wonderful is I'll go into the community, and before I've even had a chance, somebody else has already piped in and said, well, this is what I've experienced. I thought that's what you're getting, other people who are now having their input. And I think, you know, as an author and a business owner, sometimes it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And having a community of like-minded people who are also writing books, or some of them have now nearly finished writing their books and they're getting close to publishing, and you know, and having that breadth of knowledge around, you know, think of where that community can go. I mean, I would love to, hopefully next year, if I can reach my magic goal of 200 authors, I want to actually then create a directory of all of the authors in my alliance. And then this directory I'm going to give out to all of the podcast hosts I know, all of the journalists that I know, and just say, these are my guys. You need to be writing about them. You need to be inviting them as your guests onto your TV shows, onto your radio shows. You know, that's what I want to do, because I really do want to shine a spotlight on people who are genuinely using their business and brand to make a difference. There's so much greenwashing going on at the moment. Let's not get on that, because I'll be on it for about an hour on my soapbox. I hate greenwashing with a vengeance.
A lot of that.
So I want to shine a light on people who are not greenwashing, who are genuinely doing something good in the world with their business or brand. And I want to elevate them and make sure they get into newspapers and magazines and podcasts and radios and TV shows. Sandra, do you know Sandra Namoto?
Yeah, I interviewed her.
Did you interview? She's one of my authors. So oh my God, my heart could have burst with pride. This January, she was on countrywide breakfast TV in Canada because of her book.
I know.
I could have burst with pride when I saw. She's like, I felt like a proud mother. I was like, oh my God, she's on TV. She's on Canada-wide TV, breakfast TV, because of the book that she wrote. So I was so proud of her. That's what I want for all of my authors. All my authors should be on TV and radio and everywhere. So all of these annoying people who are still not vegan and they still don't get it, they get with the program. It's like, come on already. It's 2023. Get with the program.
You know, what you reminded me of too is this, you know, I heard this expression some time ago. It's like we're all walking each other home. And I think that's what's happening like in your community and communities all over. And also, you know, again, a big shout out to Sandra. You know, we spoke a week or two ago, and it's not only just within her country that she was showcased, because I saw the, you know, the clips circulating on social media. So it is a global exposure and a global visibility, you know, because social media. People share it, you know, so you don't have to just be watching a TV. I personally don't have a TV, but you know, you don't have to be watching local TV or national TV. No, it just goes global. So I think that's the beauty as well.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, it is.
Now, how do people join your community?
Okay, so the best thing to do is my website is theveganpublisher.com. So there you go, the vegan publisher. I try to make it as simple as possible. So just go to theveganpublisher.com. You can learn more about me. Follow me on Instagram. You're on Instagram right now. Follow me on Instagram. I would say I'm usually more on LinkedIn because I tend to be, because I'm working with business owners, they tend to hang around on LinkedIn more so than Instagram. But there are businesses that hang around on Instagram, especially health coaches. I've noticed a lot of my clients who are health coaches, I actually found them on Instagram and not on LinkedIn. So there are hubs. So follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, although I hate Facebook, to be honest, but I am on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Come and find me, send me a message, and then let's talk. You know, I'm always happy to have quick 15-minute chats with people on Zoom, and we can just, you know, sometimes people, it isn't right for them to write a book right now because, you know, that's why I wrote my book, The Freedom Master Plan, because everyone wants to write a book, but sometimes, especially as a business owner, you'll be so, it's hard to fit everything that you want to do in, and then someone else comes in and says, hey, you should write a book, and you're thinking, thanks, are you now creating an 8th day of the week that I can now utilize? Like, I've got all of these things to do. I need to create content on social media. I need to write on my blog. I need to keep my clients happy. Where do I find the time? So sometimes it isn't right to write a book. Your business has to be in a certain place. So I'm more than happy to have a chat with somebody for 15 minutes and we can work out whether it's a good idea or not. And if it's not, no big deal. But yeah, come and find me and let's chat.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You know, I once heard someone say something like, you know, we all have a book inside of us, or we all have a song inside of us, that kind of thing. And I do believe that. And so, you know, it's not because you're not ready to write that book today, but you may be ready to write it in a month, a year, a decade. It doesn't matter, you know. And so I think it's beautiful that, you know, your community is there, and you have a Black Vegan Experience chiming in saying, yes, it is. And you had a thank you from Landa Pack.
Thank you.
And so I want to just ask if there maybe one or two authors who you recently guided through the publishing process, who actually have published their books, if you just wanted to kind of mention one or two people, just to kind of give people, you know, some concrete examples and some.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can talk about the last 2 authors that I've just published. So my latest author is a lovely lady called Tiffany Pagney. She's based in Texas, which in her own words is the most non-vegan state in the US. So she has it quite tough there, trying to convince people why they need to become plant-based. So she's written a fantastic book called Protein Inc. See, again, on Amazon. And it's all about, well, she's called it Protein Inc. because she believes it's, you know, it is a conspiracy that animal agriculture is trying to make people believe, and they're succeeding in making people believe that you need to eat animals for protein. And as plant-based people, as vegans, we know that's utter BS. Because where do those animals get from? How are animals magically, how are animals magically creating protein, but we can't? I mean, that's just weird. We must be aliens and we're obviously not from this planet. If all the other animals are able to magically create protein in their bodies, but we're like, oh my God, we need to eat them because we can't make it ourselves. That's utter BS. None of us are able to make it ourselves. They can't make it by themselves. They're getting it from plants. That means we can get protein from plants as well. So she completely lifts the lid on this. She's got an amazing story as well, because at the age of, she was born with congenital defects. Her body, so she had lots of issues. And then when she got into her 40s, because of the standard American diet, she had heart problems, she had diabetes, all the typical things that people just think is normal. And she completely reversed it by becoming plant-based. And it's her story, and it's called Protein. It's all about debunking this myth that animal agriculture is perpetuating to us, that we need to eat protein from animals to survive. So there's that. And then I have another lady who published a book just before Tiffany, called Kimberly Danner, and her book is Gen Z Plant Powered, and it's geared towards under 25-year-olds and really galvanizing them, because she really does believe, and I believe with her, that if we don't get to Gen Z, that is the generation that's going to save us if we get to them early enough. And its signs are there that it's happening. There are more vegans that are under 25 than any other generation. So the signs are there. If we can get to as many of them as possible, there is a chance that the species will survive and we won't make ourselves extinct by burning up this planet. So her book is geared towards under 25-year-olds. So if you're under 25, go and get it. If you're not, if you're like me and well seasoned, like me and Angel, and you're well seasoned, you can still read it and maybe buy a copy for any member of your family who's young, and help them understand that, I feel bad for them because we kind of ruin the planet for them and they have to now rescue us. It's a huge burden to put on them, but they're it. If they don't do it, we are screwed as a species. It's as simple as that.
First of all, those are some really powerful examples, and I really want to thank you for sharing them. Secondly, there's data to back up what you are saying, left, right, and center. And the most recent data I saw was on the young people, and how, they are, in huge percentages compared to, let's say, some of us in midlife and way beyond. They're really tapping into the plant-based diet and vegan lifestyle. And I was so compelled by this data that I saw that I actually sent it to two vegan activists, one who is a teenager herself, and she thanked me for sharing, and another one who is a mother, very, very famous vegan woman, and she hosts Instagram Lives with like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of super young people, because she's the mother of two very famous celebrities. And so I sent her that data as well, because I know that she is really motivating and galvanizing and inspiring and educating young people. So the data is out there. I will try to dig up that information and just send it to you that would be
fantastic.
You do whatever you want.
No, it's fantastic. It's really, and I was really proud of Kimberly for putting that book out, because it's really, she is a child and teen psychologist. So she is seeing especially with the pandemic, she's seeing the brunt end of what a bad diet is doing to the physical and mental health of that generation. And she's trying to get to them early. I mean, we've been able to turn around later on in our lives, but the earlier, the better, So, yeah. So those, I would say, I mean, like I said, I've published 22 authors now, so I won't spend all my time going through all 22 authors. We'll be here forever.
Yeah.
But those are the last two. I'm now just about to publish a gentleman in the next few weeks, and his book is all about, he's writing how to cook not just plant-based but sustainably, and what the real USP is. All of his recipes are going to have a carbon footprint, and he actually will tell you what the carbon footprint is for each thing that you cook in his book, which I'm very proud of. I just think that's the next stage, really. We need to become aware of what kind of ingredients we're using, you know.
That's,
So hopefully that'll be published in the next few weeks.
that's powerful because a lot of people want data. And, sadly, I also came upon some research of how the climate change issue is such a burden on young people. And it's really affecting, their whole energy. I mean, I won't go into details, but it's really, really, really weighing on them. This is solid data through surveys, et cetera, et cetera. So these are super duper important topics and books and questions and themes that are coming up. We have some comments here from Black Vegan Experience. I do hope you ladies can connect to our event on June 17th in Richmond, Virginia. Houston is working on the vegan scene, though. Yeah, I've heard Houston and Austin in Texas are really, improving.
Yeah. You do get them. I've noticed you get that. You get that in countries or in the US because it's such a huge country. In states, you'll get these hubs. And these hubs just get bigger. I was saying it's like a lovely weed that's taking over. I'm like, I want the vegan weeds to just take over the planet, So grow like weeds, people. Grow like weeds.
And grow like wildflowers. So
yeah.
Beautiful. We also have Black Vegan Experience saying, I teach middle school, so I'm sewing a plant-based seeds. That is awesome.
Oh, well done. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was Black Vegan Experience, was it?
Yeah.
Well done. That's awesome. Yeah, as early as possible. I hate it. In the UK, I don't know if you get this in the US, probably. In the UK, we still have this contingent that believe that if kids are plant-based, that you're abusing them. Yeah. It's like, no, the abuse is giving them animal products.
Yeah.
You know, but they're so indoctrinated. It's all like, oh, well, when they're older, if they want to go plant-based, that's fine. But it's abuse. It's child abuse if you're giving kids plant milks. No, it's like, no, it's child abuse if you're giving them dairy.
I agree. But you're right. There's that challenge for parents, and I just really applaud the parents who are conceiving their children as vegans, birthing their children as vegans, raising their children as vegans, and strengthening them as children as vegans, but I've seen it has been challenging for some people. So thanks for bringing that up as well. Now I want to ask you if there are any future products or services or offerings or projects that you want to mention at this time.
Oh, gosh, well, apart from having 33 authors, that's enough projects for me. That is enough projects. Well, I'm hoping when I do have time to breathe, I would like to publish my second book at some point next year. But I'm going to do something different. I'm a big believer that everything I teach my clients, I come from a place of I've done this myself. I think there's a lot, especially online, there's a lot of people who come from the philosophy of do what I say, not what I do. So they're teaching all of this stuff, but they don't even do it themselves. You got people who are like, teaching how to do Facebook adverts, but they're not running Facebook adverts themselves. There's all of these people, do this. This is how you should be big on YouTube, but you're not doing that on YouTube. So there's this disconnect. And I'm a big believer that I will not teach anything to anybody unless I've done it myself. And one of my awesome experts came in and did a masterclass a couple of weeks ago, Velin Hawkins, and she spent the whole masterclass, and I learned how to crowdfund a book, which blew my mind. I was like, I thought crowdfunding was for gadgets and things like new or apps, new apps and things. And she was like, no, you can do it for books. I was like, so you can actually crowdfund and get all the money you need to publish a book, or the editing, cover, before you've even written the book. And she's like, yes. And you've got a built-in audience. You've got people now waiting for your book to drop. It blew my mind. I'd never done it that way. No one taught me that way. I was like, you get the book and then you market it. Surely, that's the way. No, you can actually market the book before it even exists.
So is it? So to me, I'm picking up like it's like a pre-sale or a pre-order, but
yeah, exactly. But it's even better than a pre-sale, because a pre-sale, pre-order, you're saying the book is there, but the book's not going to come out yet. But this, you can completely crowdfund it. So it's not only you can do rewards. You can do. The lowest reward would be you get a copy of the book. Okay. But then you can have rewards such as you get a signed copy of the book. You can even have, you get a mention in the book, say if someone pays in $500 instead of $10. You can even create a whole experience where someone pays $5,000, so I'm going to test it because I want to do that. So I thought I'm going to do that with my book, my next book, record everything, how I did it. And then all of my authors that come to me, I'm not saying you have to do that, but now that is another option. You can crowdfund your book before you've even written a single word.
I love that. And, I'm just going to drop a thought in the bucket here too, in the think tank here too, because, it's, I've been learning a lot, the whole community aspect that you're talking about. So for example, they could become a part of the community. Another element could be, to meet the author. So, if you drop, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000, whatever dollars, whatever your currency is, you get to meet the author, like that kind of, connection, community, face-to-face experience, personalized experience. So there's so many, that's such a beautiful, option. And so I really applaud you. Well, I applaud that person.
Going for it. I don't know whether it will be successful. I'm pretty sure it will be because I'm going to have Velan Hawkins helping me, and she's brilliant. So I'm quite confident that it will be successful. But yeah, I'm sure it's going to be nerve-wracking. It's not something I've ever done before. But like I said, I don't believe in telling people to go and do something if I haven't done it myself.
Yeah.
So I think it's only fair that I go out, do it, make mistakes, but then I'll be able to help those people so they avoid those mistakes and do it, great first time round. So yeah, that's probably my next project, along with helping 33 people write their books at the moment.
That's fantastic. Now, I want to ask you now, what are the best ways for people to contact you for information, collaboration, questions, comments, etc., please?
Well, yeah, go and find me on the vegan, so you can just Google the Vegan Publisher and I should pop up, or theveganpublisher.com. You can follow me on Instagram. I think my virtual assistant has put a Linktree link in that has links to all my websites and everything, so you should be able to find that on my bio on Instagram. Yeah, I'm findable. I've made sure that I'm very findable. It's very difficult to miss me. I'm that annoying person you can't get rid of. You will find me, especially with my name. You will find me. So it's never a problem. People are like, I found you straight away. It's like, I thought you would. So get in touch.
Fantastic. So before I ask you for your final thoughts to wrap this up and put a bow on it for us, please, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat with us.
We've been talking for an hour and a half. We must get on it. Well, I knew we'd got on, but we must get on. Wow.
I know. And I'm trying to rush because I don't know what you have on your agenda for the rest of the day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to take up too much time. But
no, this is evening time. You're in the UK. You're coming up to 8:30 in the evening. So I'm done now. So don't worry. We could chat on.
Fantastic. And I want to thank everybody who joined either live or on the replay. Thanks for your comments, your energy. I'll read this comment here from Black Vegan Experiences that thank you. And also they're always asking for my food and get excited to share their new experiences with me in class. So thank you for that. Thanks for
joining. Love that.
And so, yeah, I want to just kind of ask you, Mitali, if you want to give us your final thoughts to wrap this up and put a bow on it for us, please.
Final thought is, actually, I'm one of the sponsors of VegFest that's happening this coming weekend. I'm one of the sponsors, and I'm speaking as well, so I'm one of the speakers. And my whole talk is all about my issues that I had growing up. I dealt with aspects of racism, but a lot of it was actually colorism within my own community. That was actually harsher than the racism that I dealt with. So I talk about that, and I talk about my issues of not fitting in, and then I went vegan, which makes you definitely not fit in. But then I talk about how this was the first time in my life that me not fitting in actually made me proud, because I realized all the other times, I remember being younger and thinking, I wish I was lighter skinned. I remember thinking, I wish I was white. I remember I used to be heavily overweight. I remember thinking, I wish I was slim, just so I could fit in. But when I went vegan, for the first time, I was like, oh, to hell with fitting in. I don't want to fit in. And the more I didn't fit in, the more I realized I'm doing something right. because I'm making people question themselves, making them question what they're doing, whether they're being good to other people, to other beings, whether they're even being good to themselves or not. I'm making them have little wake-up calls. And let's face it, wake-up calls are not meant to be comfortable. So I would say, wrapping this up in a bow, you know, I'm sure most of your audience are plant-based. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep having those conversations with people. Don't be belligerent, because it doesn't really get you anywhere. But have those kind conversations with people. And if you do get pushback, and if you do experience hostility, don't put a smile on your face, because then you look smug. You don't want to look smug, but smile inside, realizing even when someone's being hostile, you're actually doing some good. You're making them have a bit of a wake-up call.
That's beautiful, and powerful, and thank you for that, because you know you're leaving us with words of encouragement. You know?
No, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, no, because it's not easy being vegan, but you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's worth it. It's all worth it.
Worth
Even,
it.
you know, people mock us and taunt us and criticize us and so forth and so on. So thank you for leaving us with those encouraging words. Thank you for all your great work. And I am going to, upload this or save this on Instagram, IGTV, my stories. I'll also be putting it up on YouTube. And, hopefully that will give you more visibility as well.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll do that. I'll do that like way later tonight, but because it's still midday.
Yeah, yeah. It's early for you. It's early. Yeah, it's just halfway through the day.
Yeah, but anyway, but I will right now upload it to IGTV, my stories, and then I'll message you after.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angel. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Mitali. Thanks, everybody, and take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye.